Willard Whitcomb is just one of many great characters on the resume of Herbert Marshall. For a guy not really synonymous with noir, the urbane Englishman displayed a stiff upper lip, either as a victim or a villain, in several noir films: The Letter, Crack Up, The Underworld Story, and Angel Face. And if the gait seems as stiff as the lip, that's because his leg was made of wood, the result of an injury suffered in the First World War. Director Curtis Bernhardt began his career as a theater actor in Germany, but by the mid-20s, he was dead set on directing. Theater or film, it really didn't matter. He was part of the leftist movement in Weimar, Berlin, and in 1924 shot a feature funded by the communists called War, also known as Nameless Heroes, about a blind soldier leading a pacifist movement in Berlin. A few years later, he directed The Souls of Children Accuse You, an anti-abortion tract funded by the Catholic Church. Bernhardt took pride in having been hired by both the communists and Catholics to convincingly sell their stories. Unlike directors who imposed their personalities on whatever material they were given, Bernhardt prided himself on finding a different style for each story he told. That could be why he never garnered much of a reputation in a business that caters to larger-than-life artists. Although he's not as celebrated as expat contemporaries such as Fritz Lang, F.W. Murnau, Ernst Lubitsch, or Billy Wilder, it's worth noting that in the late 20s, Bernhardt directed several films: The Last Company, The Rebel, as well as the early Marlene Dietrich silent The Woman Men Yearn For, that made him one of the prominent artists of the early German sound era. In 1932, Germany's best and brightest filmmakers were called together to receive guidelines from Joseph Goebbels, soon to be the Third Reich's Minister of Propaganda, on the future of filmmaking under Nazi rule. Goebbels offered 5 examples of the kind of film the Nazis wanted to make: Love, Greta Garbo's 1927 version of Anna Karenina, directed by Edmund Goulding; Fritz Lang's Die Nibelungen; Sergei Eisenstein's Potemkin, not for its communist poison, Goebbels noted, but for the style of filmmaking; and 2 pictures by Kurt Bernhardt, The Last Company and The Rebel. Goebbels was fond of these 5 because, in his words, none of them could have been conceived in the degenerate brain of a Jewish director. Of course, Lang, Eisenstein, and Bernhardt, they were all Jewish. After this meeting, Bernhardt understandably felt his future lay in France, not Germany. Fortunately, in 1933, he was hired by a French film company to direct a movie called The Tunnel in Paris. Unfortunately, as soon as he arrived in the City of Lights, the producer announced, "Good news, we're shooting the whole picture in Munich." Bernhardt found himself in the untenable position of being a Jew in Germany and a German in France. It wasn't until 1939 that Bernhardt, under constant scrutiny by the Third Reich, was able to escape the Nazis, coming to America with no money except what had been cabled to him by a former colleague, director Henry Koster. In short order, Bernhardt was weighing 7-year contracts from both Warner Brothers and MGM. In another terrific noir he made the year before High Wall, Possessed, he guided Joan Crawford to her 2nd Oscar nomination. Well, as much as a director guides Joan Crawford anywhere. Next week on Noir Alley, a film many people consider the definitive B-noir. It's 68 minutes of grungy glory from 1945 that features one of the most memorable femme fatales of all time. Anne Savage plays a hitchhiking harpy from hell in the cult classic Detour. I cannot wait to share it with you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm overdue for my daily dose of narco synthesis, the liquid variety.